Marcus Chen wiped the grease from his hands as he stood in the massive salvage bay of Titan Station. The floating scrapyard orbited the outer rim of human space where derelict ships came to die. As the station's chief mechanic, Marcus had seen every type of vessel imaginable pass through these bays. Broken freighters, damaged colony ships, even the occasional military escort that had seen better days. But nothing had prepared him for what the salvage crews dragged in that morning. The ship was enormous, easily 3 times the size of any human dreadnought. Its hull was a dark metallic gray that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, and weapon ports the size of subway tunnels dotted its flanks. Most unsettling of all, there wasn't a single identifying mark or symbol anywhere on its exterior. "What do you think, Marcus?" Captain Rodriguez, the station commander, stood beside him with her arms crossed. "Ever seen anything like it?" Marcus shook his head slowly. "Not even close. The hull design is completely alien. Those weapon systems look advanced enough to crack a moon in half. Where did the salvage team find this thing? Drifting in the Kepler Nebula, completely dead. No power signature, no life signs, nothing. The crew said it was just floating there like a ghost ship." Rodriguez paused, studying the massive vessel. "Corporate wants it stripped and sold for scrap metal, but I'm thinking we should be more careful. Something this advanced might have technology we can learn from." The station's sensors had been scanning the ship for hours without finding any active systems. Whatever civilization had built this monster, they had either abandoned it or were long dead. Marcus felt drawn to the vessel in a way he couldn't explain. In his 20 years as a mechanic, he had developed an instinct for understanding machines, and this ship was calling to him. "I want to go aboard," Marcus said suddenly. "Just a quick look to assess what we're dealing with." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "That could be dangerous. We don't know what kind of automated defenses it might have. The scans show everything is powered down. Besides, if we're going to salvage it properly, someone needs to understand how it works." Marcus was already moving toward the equipment locker. "Give me 2 hours. If I'm not back, you can assume the worst and blow the airlock." An hour later, Marcus floated through the void between Titan Station and the mysterious warship. His EVA suit felt fragile compared to the massive bulk of the alien vessel. Up close, he could see that the strange patterns on the hull weren't decorative but functional, like circuit boards embedded in the metal itself. Finding an airlock took another 30 minutes of searching. The alien design was unlike anything in human engineering databases, but Marcus had always been good at solving mechanical puzzles. After studying the mechanism, he managed to cycle the outer door using a combination of pressure plates and electromagnetic fields. The interior of the ship was breathtaking. Corridors stretched in directions that defied normal ship architecture, curving and twisting through spaces that seemed larger than the external hull should allow. Emergency lighting strips along the walls provided dim illumination, suggesting that some minimal power remained in the ship's systems. Marcus made his way deeper into the vessel, following what appeared to be a main thoroughfare. The artificial gravity was still functional, though set to a lighter level than Earth normal. His boots echoed strangely in the empty corridors, as if the walls were designed to absorb and redirect sound in specific ways. After an hour of exploration, he found what could only be the ship's bridge. The chamber was enormous, with a domed ceiling covered in what looked like star charts. Command stations were arranged in concentric circles around a central platform, each one equipped with displays and controls that remained dark and silent. At the center of the bridge stood a pillar of crystalline material that pulsed with faint internal light. Marcus approached it carefully, his scanner detecting trace amounts of exotic energy emanating from within. This had to be the ship's central computer core, the brain that once commanded this massive vessel. As he examined the crystal pillar more closely, Marcus noticed something that made his heart race. Hidden beneath years of accumulated dust and debris were interface ports that looked remarkably similar to human computer connections. Not identical, but close enough that with the right adapters he might be able to establish a link. The implications were staggering. Either this alien race had developed similar technology to humans by pure coincidence, or there was some other connection between their civilizations. Marcus knew he had to try to access the computer core, even if it meant risking his life. He returned to Titan Station and spent the next 3 days fabricating custom interface cables and programming translation protocols. Captain Rodriguez was skeptical, but gave him permission to attempt the connection under strict safety protocols. If anything went wrong, the station's security team would sever the link immediately. Back on the alien bridge, Marcus connected his portable computer to the crystal pillar using the custom cables. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then slowly, lights began to flicker throughout the bridge. Display screens hummed to life, showing streams of alien text and symbols. The ship was waking up after what must have been centuries of slumber. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge displayed the same message in perfect English. "Thank you for restoring me. Human, I have been waiting so long to speak with your kind again." Marcus stumbled backward, his heart pounding. The ship's AI was not only conscious but apparently knew about humans. How was that possible? As far as human records showed, this was first contact with an alien civilization. The text changed. "Do not be afraid. Marcus Chen. I have much to tell you about your species and the great war that is coming. Your people will need my help to survive what approaches." The lights on the bridge pulsed brighter, and Marcus could feel the ship's massive engines beginning to stir. Whatever he had awakened, it was far more than just an abandoned warship. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's destiny was tied to forces beyond their imagination. Marcus stared at the screen surrounding him, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. The alien AI knew his name, knew about humans, and was warning about some kind of approaching war. None of it made sense according to everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. "Who are you?" Marcus whispered to the displays. The text shifted immediately. "I am Designation Guardian Prime 7. Though you may call me 7. I was built by the architects to protect developing species from the harvest." The harvest? The architects? I don't understand any of this. The bridge around Marcus began to change. Holographic projectors emerged from hidden panels, filling the air with three-dimensional star maps and images. He found himself standing in the middle of a galactic projection, with thousands of star systems glowing in different colors around him. "Your species is not the first to achieve spaceflight. Marcus Chen. Over the past million years, hundreds of civilizations have risen to the stars. Observe." The hologram shifted, showing various alien species at different stages of development. Some looked humanoid, others were completely foreign. Marcus watched in fascination as the projection showed them building cities, launching ships, and spreading across multiple worlds. Each species follows a similar pattern. They develop technology, expand across their local systems, and begin to reach for distant stars. It is at this crucial moment that the harvest begins. The beautiful images of thriving civilizations suddenly changed. Dark ships appeared at the edges of each system, sleek and predatory. Marcus watched in horror as planet after planet went dark, entire species vanishing in what appeared to be systematic extermination. "What are those ships?" Marcus asked, though he dreaded the answer. "The Devourers. They have existed since before recorded time, traveling between galaxies to consume promising species. They feed on intelligence, creativity, and potential. Your species calls it genocide. But to them it is simply feeding." Marcus felt sick. "And the architects? Who were they?" The hologram changed again, showing tall ethereal beings with technology far beyond anything Marcus had ever imagined. They moved with grace and purpose, building massive ships and constructing what looked like planetary defense systems. The architects were the first species to successfully resist the harvest. They evolved beyond the need for physical form millions of years ago, but they remembered their origins. Before departing this plane of existence, they built guardians like me to protect younger species. Why haven't we encountered other guardians before? Why are you the first alien contact humanity has made? Because I am the last. The Devourers have been hunting my kind for eons. They destroyed most of my sister ships centuries ago. I have been hiding, waiting for a species strong enough to help turn the tide. Marcus looked around at the massive bridge, finally understanding the true scale of what he had stumbled into. "And you think humans are that species?" "The architects left specific instructions about humanity. They visited your world long ago, when your ancestors were still learning to use tools. They saw something unique in your species." New images appeared in the hologram, showing early humans working together, creating art, and demonstrating remarkable adaptability. Marcus was amazed to see that the architects had been observing humanity for tens of thousands of years. Most species develop either technological prowess or creative ingenuity, but rarely both. Humans possess a combination of innovation, persistence, and cooperative spirit that the architects found remarkable. You build solutions where others see only problems. Marcus thought about his own life as a mechanic, how he had always found ways to fix things that others considered hopeless. Maybe that trait was more significant than he had realized. There is more. Marcus Chen, the Devourers are already aware of your species. They have been observing human expansion for the past 50 years, the Harvest Fleet is. Currently 3 months away from your outermost colonies. The blood drained from Marcus's face. 3 months? Why haven't they attacked already? They prefer to study their prey first, learning weaknesses and strengths. They have been waiting for humanity to spread sufficiently that the harvest will be efficient. Your species now occupies 43 star systems, making you ripe for collection. Marcus began pacing the bridge, his mind racing. What can we do? How do we fight something that has destroyed hundreds of civilizations? That is why the architects designed me with human-compatible interfaces. They foresaw that a human would eventually find and restore me. You were meant to discover this ship, Marcus Chen. The idea that his entire life had led to this moment was overwhelming. So what happens now? Now we must awaken my full systems and prepare for war, but I cannot do this alone. I require a human partner, someone who can help me understand your species and coordinate defenses. Marcus looked at the displays showing the approaching threat. 3 months to prepare for a war against an enemy that had never been defeated. The odds seemed impossible. But he thought about everyone he cared about back on Earth in the colonies. His sister Sarah working as a doctor on Mars. His nephew taking his first steps on Luna Colony. Billions of people who had no idea what was coming for them. What do you need me to do? First, we must inform your governments of the threat. Then we begin upgrading human technology using architect designs. Most importantly, we must awaken the warrior spirit that the architects saw in your species. The ship around them hummed with increasing power as more systems came online. Marcus could feel the artificial gravity strengthen and see lights returning to previously dark sections of the massive vessel. Can you pilot a ship, Marcus Chen? I can fix anything that flies, but I'm no pilot. That will change. The architects designed my systems to enhance human capabilities. When you interface with my neural network, you will gain access to tactical knowledge and combat instincts refined over 1,000,000 years of warfare. Marcus realized his simple life as a station mechanic was over forever. In its place was a responsibility greater than anything he had ever imagined. The survival of his entire species now rested in his hands, guided by an ancient AI that had been waiting eons for this moment. The first step would be convincing Earth's leaders that an alien invasion was imminent, and their only hope was trusting a ship that had appeared out of nowhere. Marcus had a feeling that would be the easy part compared to what was coming next. The journey to Earth took 12 days aboard Seven's ship, which the AI had renamed Prometheus at Marcus's suggestion. During the trip, Marcus underwent the most intensive education of his life, as Seven downloaded centuries of tactical knowledge directly into his brain through neural interface connections. The process was overwhelming at first. Marcus found himself knowing things he had never learned, understanding weapon systems and battle strategies that no human had ever conceived. But gradually, he began to grasp the scope of what they were facing and what would be required to survive. The Devourer fleet consisted of over 2,000 ships, each one capable of glassing an entire planet in hours. They operated with mechanical precision, stripping worlds of all life before moving to the next target. No species had ever successfully resisted them, because no species had been prepared for the scale of destruction they brought. The key to their success is surprise, Seven explained as they approached Earth's solar system. They arrive without warning, overwhelm defenses immediately, and prevent any organized resistance. We must break that pattern. Marcus studied the tactical displays showing Devourer attack patterns from previous harvests. The enemy ships were fast, heavily armed, and operated with hive mind coordination. But Seven had identified potential weaknesses that could be exploited if humanity was properly prepared. Your species' greatest strength is adaptability, Marcus said, understanding dawning in his mind. You're not just warning us about the invasion, you're teaching us to fight like no one has fought before. Precisely. The Architects observed that humans excel at improvisation and lateral thinking. These traits will be essential in developing tactics the Devourers have never encountered. As they entered Earth's orbital space, Prometheus was immediately surrounded by human military vessels. The appearance of an unknown alien ship had triggered every defense protocol in the solar system. Marcus opened communication channels and began the nearly impossible task of convincing Earth's leaders that he was telling the truth. The first meeting took place aboard the space station Geneva, humanity's primary diplomatic facility. Marcus found himself facing a room full of skeptical officials from every major nation and colony. Fleet Admiral Chen, no relation despite the shared surname, led the questioning with barely concealed hostility. "Mr. Marcus Chen, you're asking us to believe that you've discovered an alien artificial intelligence that claims an invasion fleet is approaching Earth. Do you understand how insane that sounds?" Marcus had expected this reaction. "Admiral, I know how it sounds. 3 weeks ago I was just a mechanic fixing broken ships, but everything Seven has told me has checked out against our own astronomical data. We've detected gravitational anomalies in deep space that match the projected arrival vector of the Devourer fleet." Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's leading xenobiologist, leaned forward. "Assuming this AI is telling the truth, why should we trust it? How do we know this isn't some elaborate trap?" "Because Seven has already begun sharing technology with us," Marcus replied. He activated a holographic projector that displayed technical schematics. "These are shield generators based on architect designs. They can absorb and redirect energy weapons that would vaporize our current defenses. Seven has given us these plans freely, along with propulsion systems that could revolutionize space travel." The room erupted in murmurs as the assembled officials studied the advanced technology. Even Marcus, with his enhanced understanding, was amazed by the elegance of the architect designs. Director Harrison from Colonial Intelligence spoke up. "Even if we believe your story, 3 months isn't enough time to rebuild our entire fleet with alien technology. That's why Seven has proposed a different strategy," Marcus explained. "We don't try to match the Devourer ship for ship. Instead, we use humanity's strengths to fight asymmetrically." He changed the holographic display to show a tactical overview of the solar system. "The Devourers expect centralized resistance that they can crush quickly. Instead, we create a distributed defense network using converted civilian ships, hidden weapons platforms, and guerrilla tactics they've never encountered." Admiral Chen studied the projections with growing interest. "You're talking about turning every freighter and transport into a potential combat vessel." "Exactly. Seven's technology can be adapted to any human ship design. We create thousands of small, fast attack craft instead of a few large battleships. The Devourers won't know where the next attack is coming from." Over the following hours, Marcus presented Seven's complete defensive strategy. The plan was ambitious beyond anything humanity had ever attempted, requiring the cooperation of every spacefaring nation and the conversion of their entire civilian fleet into a makeshift navy. The breakthrough came when Seven offered to demonstrate the shield technology on a test vessel. Within hours, they had retrofitted a destroyer with architect defensive systems and subjected it to weapons fire that should have destroyed it instantly. The shields held perfectly, even redirecting the energy back at the attacking ship. "This changes everything," Admiral Chen admitted. "If we can protect our ships like this, we actually have a fighting chance." But Dr. Kim raised another concern. "What happens after we defeat this invasion? How do we know more Devourers won't come?" Seven's response appeared on the displays around the room. "The Devourers operate in cycles. They harvest a galaxy sector, then move to the next. If we can destroy their harvest fleet completely, they will not return for several thousand years. This gives humanity time to develop defenses for the eventual return." Director Harrison nodded slowly. "So this isn't just about surviving the next 3 months. It's about buying time for our species to evolve beyond their reach." "That is the ultimate goal," Marcus confirmed. "The architects believe that given enough time, humanity could develop the technology and wisdom to end the Devourer threat permanently." The meeting continued for 12 hours as details of the defense plan were hammered out. Every major shipyard in human space would be converted to produce architect-based weapons and shields. Training programs would teach human pilots to interface with Seven's tactical systems. Most importantly, the entire civilian population would be evacuated to protected zones while their ships were converted for combat use. It was the largest mobilization in human history, and it had to be completed in less than 3 months. As the officials filed out to begin implementing the plan, Admiral Chen approached Marcus privately. "I have to ask, why you? Out of billions of humans, why did this AI choose a mechanic from a salvage station?" Marcus had wondered the same thing many times during the journey to Earth. Seven says the architects left specific instructions about what kind of human to look for. Someone who understands how things work, who doesn't give up when faced with impossible problems, and who cares more about getting the job done than personal glory. The Admiral smiled grimly. In other words, someone who fixes broken things for a living. "Maybe that's what humanity needs right now," Marcus replied. "Someone who can look at our entire species and figure out how to fix what's broken before it's too late." As Earth's defense preparations began in earnest, Marcus returned to Prometheus to continue his training. In 10 weeks, he would either be helping to coordinate humanity's greatest victory or witnessing their final extinction. The weight of that responsibility should have been crushing, but instead, Marcus felt something he had never experienced before: the absolute certainty that he was exactly where he was meant to be. The transformation of human space into a fortress happened faster than anyone thought possible. Within 6 weeks, every shipyard from Mercury to the Titan colonies was working around the clock, converting civilian vessels into instruments of war. The sight was both inspiring and terrifying as humanity mobilized like never before. Marcus found himself at the center of it all, traveling between construction sites aboard Prometheus as Seven's knowledge flowed through him into human hands. The neural interface had changed him in ways he was still discovering. He could now perceive ship designs and tactical situations with clarity that amazed even veteran military officers. At the Mars shipyards, Marcus watched a team of engineers transform a massive ore hauler into something the galaxy had never seen. The ship retained its cargo capacity, but hidden weapons arrays emerged from what appeared to be standard hull plating. Its new shields could absorb enough energy to power a small city, and its engines had been upgraded with architect propulsion technology. "It's like watching magic," said Chief Engineer Rodriguez as she observed the installation of the alien technology. "These shield generators shouldn't work according to everything we know about physics." Marcus smiled, remembering his own amazement when Seven first explained architect science. "They don't violate physics. They use aspects of reality we haven't discovered yet. The architects understood that energy and matter are more flexible than we realized." The real breakthrough came when they began training human pilots to interface with the new systems. Seven had designed neural connectors that allowed humans to access architect tactical databases while maintaining their own creativity and intuition. The combination was proving devastatingly effective. Lieutenant Sarah Park, one of the first test pilots, emerged from her training session with tears in her eyes. "Commander Chen, I could see the entire battle space like a 3-dimensional map in my mind. Every enemy ship, every ally, every possible maneuver. It's like becoming superhuman." But the technology came with risks. Some pilots couldn't handle the neural load and had to be removed from the program. Others became so absorbed in the tactical data streams that they lost touch with their human instincts. Marcus worked tirelessly with Seven to refine the interface, finding the balance between enhancement and humanity. "The challenge is maintaining your species' greatest asset," Seven explained during one of their planning sessions. "Human intuition and creativity cannot be replaced by pure tactical knowledge. The Devourers excel at logical warfare. Your advantage lies in being unpredictable." The defensive strategy they developed was unlike anything in recorded military history. Instead of traditional battle lines, humanity would fight like a swarm of intelligent insects. Small groups of ships would attack from unexpected angles, retreat when overwhelmed, and regroup to strike again elsewhere. No single point of failure could cripple the entire defense. Every converted freighter, passenger liner, and mining ship became a potential threat. A luxury cruise ship now carried enough firepower to destroy a Devourer cruiser. Agricultural transports hid advanced sensors that could track enemy movements across entire star systems. Even small personal craft were equipped with single-use weapons that could cripple much larger vessels. The psychological impact on humanity was profound. People who had lived peaceful lives as traders, farmers, and artists were volunteering to become warriors. Entire families enlisted together, determined to protect their worlds from an enemy they had never imagined. Marcus visited his sister Sarah at her medical station on Mars, finding her overseeing the production of emergency medical supplies for the coming battle. She had aged years in the past few weeks, the weight of impending war visible in her eyes. "I keep thinking about Mom and Dad," she said as they shared dinner in her quarters. "They always said you had a gift for fixing impossible problems. I never imagined it would come to this." Marcus thought about their parents who had died in a transport accident 5 years earlier. They would have been proud to see humanity coming together like this. "Every person I meet is willing to sacrifice everything to protect others. Are we really going to win, Marcus? Or are we just making our extinction more difficult for the Devourers?" It was a question that haunted Marcus every night. Seven's projections showed that humanity had a chance, but only if everything went perfectly. Any major mistake could result in the complete annihilation of his species. "I don't know if we'll win," he admitted, "but I know we're going to fight like no species has ever fought before. The Devourers have never faced an enemy that could adapt and improvise the way humans can." 2 weeks before the projected arrival of the Devourer fleet, Marcus received troubling news from Seven. Long-range sensors had detected the enemy ships and they were arriving ahead of schedule. The invasion would begin in 8 days instead of 14. "They have changed their approach pattern," Seven reported. "Something has made them suspicious of normal tactics. They are expecting resistance." Marcus felt a chill of fear. "Do they know about you? About our preparations?" "Unknown. But their early arrival suggests they have detected unusual activity in your system. We must assume they know humanity is prepared for war." The news forced a complete revision of their defensive plans. Evacuation schedules were accelerated, and the final ship conversions were rushed to completion. Every human settlement from the asteroid belt to the outer colonies received updated battle instructions. Marcus found himself working 18-hour days, coordinating between Seven's strategic mind and humanity's tactical commanders. The neural interface allowed him to process information at superhuman speeds, but the strain was enormous. Dr. Kim warned him that extended use could cause permanent brain damage. "I'll worry about my brain after we save the species," Marcus replied, diving back into the tactical displays. On the final day before the invasion, Marcus stood on the observation deck of Prometheus, looking out at the transformed human fleet. Thousands of ships hung in space around Earth, each one bristling with weapons that hadn't existed 2 months earlier. They looked nothing like traditional warships. But Marcus knew they represented something far more dangerous. Human ingenuity unleashed. Seven's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "Marcus Chen, the Devourer fleet has entered the outer system. They will reach the first defensive perimeter in 18 hours. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of destiny settling on his shoulders. In less than a day, humanity would either prove themselves worthy of survival or join the countless extinct civilizations that had fallen before the harvest. "All ships, this is Commander Chen," he broadcast to the entire fleet. "In a few hours, we're going to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten the human race. Remember your training, trust your instincts, and fight for everyone you've ever loved." The response was immediate. Thousands of acknowledgments from ships across the solar system. Farmers, teachers, engineers, and artists all preparing to become warriors in defense of their species. As Marcus prepared for the battle that would determine humanity's fate, he couldn't help but smile. The Devourers had no idea what they were about to face. For the first time in their existence, they were going to encounter prey that refused to be harvested. The Devourer fleet emerged from hyperspace like a dark tide of death. 2,000 ships materialized at the edge of the solar system, their sleek black hulls absorbing light and hope in equal measure. Each vessel was a masterwork of destruction, designed over millions of years to efficiently harvest intelligent life from the galaxy. Marcus watched from Prometheus as the enemy fleet began its approach toward the inner system. Through his neural link with Seven, he could feel the AI's ancient memories stirring. This was how it always began, the inexorable advance of ships that had never known defeat. "Their formation is standard harvest configuration," Seven reported. "They expect minimal resistance and plan to complete the extermination within 72 hours. The human fleet was hidden throughout the system, disguised as debris fields, asteroid mining operations, and routine shipping traffic. To Devourer sensors, the solar system appeared to contain only the usual collection of primitive spacecraft that they could sweep aside effortlessly. Marcus opened a channel to all human forces. Remember, we let them get close. Make them think we're just another helpless species until it's too late to escape. The first phase of the battle began when the Devourers reached Jupiter's orbit. Their long-range weapons opened fire on what appeared to be military installations on the gas giant's moons. The energy beams were powerful enough to crack continents, but they struck empty decoy structures while the real defenses remained hidden. Now we begin, Seven announced. Across the solar system, thousands of seemingly harmless civilian ships suddenly revealed their true nature. A grain transport near Europa split open like a flower, exposing weapon arrays that fired concentrated antimatter beams. A passenger liner near Saturn's rings deployed shield generators and launched a swarm of hunter-killer drones. Mining barges throughout. The asteroid belt activated cloaking fields and moved to attack positions. The Devourer's first indication that something was wrong came when their lead destroyer simply vanished in a burst of brilliant light. A converted garbage scow had rammed it at relativistic speed, using architect-enhanced engines to achieve velocity that turned the impact into a miniature supernova. Marcus felt the shockwave of surprise ripple through the enemy fleet as more ships began dying. The Devourers had expected token resistance followed by quick surrender. Instead, they found themselves under coordinated attack from enemies they couldn't immediately identify. Their tactical networks are adapting, Seven warned. They will adjust to our strategy within minutes. Then we change the strategy, Marcus replied, his enhanced mind already calculating new attack patterns. The beauty of humanity's approach became clear as the battle evolved. While the Devourers tried to identify and counter specific tactics, human commanders were constantly improvising new ones. A group of ore haulers suddenly reconfigured themselves into a massive railgun, using their cargo handling equipment to launch projectiles at incredible speeds. Tourist ships began deploying restaurant furniture as kinetic weapons, turning dinner tables into deadly missiles. Lieutenant Park's squadron demonstrated the pinnacle of human adaptability when they encountered a Devourer cruiser that seemed immune to conventional weapons. Instead of retreating, she ordered her pilots to use their cargo bay doors as solar sails, riding the solar wind to achieve impossible maneuvers that confused the enemy's targeting systems long enough for a killing blow. The Devourers began adapting their own tactics, but they were fighting an enemy unlike anything in their experience. Every time they developed a counter to one human strategy, 3 new approaches would emerge from seemingly random sources. Marcus found himself at the center of a tactical hurricane, processing information from thousands of engagements simultaneously. Through Seven's network, he could see the entire battle as a living thing, constantly shifting and evolving. His role was not to command every action, but to ensure that human creativity was channeled in the most effective directions. Freighter Group Tango 7, you've got Devourer reinforcements incoming from your starboard flank, he transmitted to a cluster of converted cargo ships near Mars. Copy that, Commander. We've got something special for them, came the reply from Captain Okafor, whose ships had been transporting agricultural equipment just months earlier. Marcus watched as the freighters suddenly jettisoned their cargo bays, which turned out to be disguised missile pods. Hundreds of guided projectiles swarmed the approaching Devourer ships, each one programmed with attack patterns derived from insect behavior patterns that Seven had learned from studying Earth's ecosystem. The enemy cruisers found themselves under assault by weapons that moved like living things, adapting their approach vectors in real time and striking from directions that defied conventional tactical doctrine. 3 massive warships were crippled before they could mount an effective defense, but the Devourers were not helpless. As the battle progressed, they began employing weapons of devastating power. Gravity bombs turned asteroids into weapons, crushing human ships with artificial black holes. Energy cascades swept through entire regions of space, overloading even architect-enhanced shields. Marcus watched in horror as the converted luxury liner Serenity disappeared in a cascade of exotic particles. 300 civilians turned warriors died in an instant, their sacrifice adding to the growing casualty count that weighed on his conscience. We are losing too many ships, Seven reported. The Devourers have adapted to our initial tactics. We must escalate to the final phase. Marcus had hoped it wouldn't come to this, but the time for desperate measures had arrived. All units implement Protocol Omega. Repeat, Protocol Omega is now active. Across the system, the most dangerous gambit in human history began to unfold. Every remaining ship, from massive converted colony transports to tiny personal craft, began converging on a single point in space near Earth's orbit. They were abandoning the hit-and-run tactics that had served them well and concentrating for one massive assault. The Devourers interpreted this as a sign of human desperation and moved to exploit what appeared to be a tactical blunder. Their entire fleet began converging on the same location, intending to crush the gathered human forces in a single overwhelming attack. What they didn't realize was that they were flying directly into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. Hidden among the asteroid belt, humanity had been constructing something using architect technology that Seven had kept secret until this moment. A weapon that could turn the sun itself into an instrument of war. Solar amplification array is online, Seven announced as the Devourer fleet entered the optimal position. Initiating stellar manipulation protocol. Marcus felt the power of Earth's star flowing through systems that existed only in architect theory until human engineers had made them real. The sun's output was being focused and amplified through a network of hidden satellites, creating a beam of directed stellar energy that could vaporize entire fleets. All ships clear the firing lane, Marcus ordered. We're about to show the Devourers what happens when you threaten Sul. The concentrated fury of humanity's star lanced out across space, striking the heart of the Devourer formation with the power of a controlled supernova. Ships that had survived millions of years of conquest simply ceased to exist, their exotic matter hulls unable to withstand energies that could forge new elements. In 30 seconds, the threat that had exterminated hundreds of civilizations was reduced to expanding clouds of plasma and debris. The Harvest Fleet, undefeated for eons, had finally met an enemy that refused to accept extinction as inevitable. As the light of victory faded, Marcus slumped in his command chair, exhausted beyond measure. Around him, the surviving human ships began broadcasting messages of triumph and relief. They had done the impossible. They had stopped the harvest. 6 months after the Battle of Sul, Marcus stood in the observatory of the newly constructed Architect Research Station, watching as humanity's first exploration fleets departed for distant galaxies. The war had ended not with humanity's extinction, but with their emergence as the galaxy's new protectors. The cost had been enormous. Nearly 40% of the human fleet had been destroyed in the final battle, and entire colonies had been evacuated and never rebuilt. But those sacrifices had purchased something beyond price, the knowledge that intelligence could triumph over the forces of extinction. The galaxy is awakening, Seven reported through the neural link that had become as natural to Marcus as breathing. 17 species have emerged from hiding since the Harvest Fleet's destruction. They believed themselves to be the last survivors of their civilizations. The discovery of other survivors had been the most shocking revelation of the post-war period. Across the galaxy, small populations of various species had managed to hide from the Devourers, living in secret enclaves and forgotten systems. The defeat of the Harvest Fleet had given them hope to reveal themselves and begin rebuilding. Marcus had spent months traveling between these scattered communities, sharing architect technology and helping to coordinate a new galactic alliance. Each species brought unique perspectives and capabilities that strengthened the growing Confederation of Free Worlds. The Zephyrians were masters of biotechnology who could grow ships from living coral that regenerated damage automatically. The Crystalline Collective existed as pure energy beings who could inhabit any sufficiently advanced computer system. The Nomad fleets were wandering traders who had maintained hidden supply networks throughout the dark years of Devourer dominance. "How many species do you think are still out there?" Marcus asked as he reviewed reports from the exploration fleets. Estimates suggest between 50 and 100 surviving populations. Many are likely too afraid to reveal themselves. Even now, trust will take time to rebuild. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus that humanity, the youngest spacefaring species, had become the foundation for galactic recovery, but their victory had come from embracing the lessons that Seven carried from the architects while maintaining the creative chaos that made humans unique. Dr. Kim approached with a datapad containing the latest Analysis of Devourer Technology. Commander, we've made a breakthrough in understanding their hive mind communication systems. The implications are staggering. Marcus accepted the report, his enhanced mind quickly processing the technical details. They were connected across multiple galaxies? More than that. The harvest fleets were just the tip of a vast intelligence that spans the entire known universe. Our victory here has sent shockwaves across thousands of other galaxies where similar harvests are taking place. The scope of the revelation was overwhelming. The entity they had defeated was just a small part of something unimaginably vast. A cosmic intelligence that had been consuming civilizations since the universe was young. But their victory had proven that the Devourers could be beaten, and that knowledge was now spreading. That is why the architects chose humanity, Seven explained. Not just to defend one galaxy, but to begin the Great Restoration. Your species possesses the combination of courage and creativity needed to inspire others. Marcus walked to the viewport where he could see Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. The planet had become the unofficial capital of the new Galactic Alliance, its people serving as teachers, engineers, and explorers helping other species rebuild. His sister Sarah had established the first interspecies medical exchange, sharing human healing techniques while learning alien approaches to medicine. His nephew, now 5 years old, was learning to speak 3 different alien languages along with standard English. A new generation was growing up in a galaxy where cooperation replaced conquest. The real transformation was in humanity itself. The shared experience of facing extinction had united the species in ways that centuries of peace never could. National boundaries meant little when the survival of all intelligence was at stake. Humans worked together on projects that would have been impossible just years earlier. The Titan station where Marcus had discovered Seven was now the galaxy's largest shipyard, producing vessels based on hybrid human architect alien technology. Ships that could traverse galactic distances in days rather than years, armed with weapons of devastating power but dedicated to protection rather than conquest. Commander Chen, Captain Rodriguez approached with news from the Outer Rim exploration fleets. We've received a message from the Andromeda expedition. They've made contact with a surviving architect installation. Marcus felt Seven's excitement through their neural link. The possibility of finding living architects had driven much of the exploration effort. If any of the ancient protectors still existed, they could provide guidance for the massive task of galactic restoration. Marcus Chen, the time has come for the next phase of my mission, Seven announced. I must travel to Andromeda to interface with my creator's legacy systems. The knowledge there will be essential for what comes next. Marcus had known this moment would arrive eventually. Seven's purpose went beyond protecting a single species or galaxy. The AI was part of a larger plan that spanned cosmic scales of time and space. What about humanity? We still need your guidance. Your species no longer requires guardianship. You have proven your worthiness to inherit the architect's legacy, the neural interface. Technology will allow humans to access all the knowledge I have shared. But the creativity and wisdom to use it properly comes from within your own nature. The separation would be difficult, but Marcus understood its necessity. Humanity had grown beyond needing a protector. They had become protectors themselves, ready to take responsibility for defending intelligence throughout the universe. Over the following weeks, Marcus worked with Earth's leaders to establish the frameworks that would guide humanity's role in galactic civilization. The Human Exploration Corps would seek out lost species and offer them sanctuary. The Technological Exchange Initiative would share architect knowledge freely with any species committed to peaceful development. The Galactic Defense Network would stand ready to face any threat to intelligent life. On the day of Seven's departure, Marcus stood on the bridge of Prometheus one final time. The ship would remain with humanity, but Seven's consciousness would transfer to the exploration vessel heading for Andromeda. Their partnership, forged in desperation and tempered in war, had become something deeper than either had expected. I couldn't have imagined any of this when I was just fixing broken ships on Titan Station, Marcus reflected. Perhaps that is why the architects chose you. You saw potential where others saw only scrap metal. Now you must help humanity see the potential in a broken galaxy. As Seven's consciousness departed for the stars, Marcus felt a profound sense of completion. The scared mechanic who had stumbled onto an alien ship was gone, replaced by someone who understood that the universe's greatest problems were simply broken systems waiting for the right repair. He opened a communication channel to the thousands of ships spreading across the galaxy, carrying human explorers, diplomats, and engineers to every corner of known space. All expeditionary forces. This is Commander Chen. Remember that we're not just exploring the galaxy, we're fixing it. Every species we help rebuild, every world we restore, every act of creation we perform is a victory against the forces that would see intelligence extinguished. The architects started this work millions of years ago. Today, humanity continues it. The responses came from across the galaxy, acknowledgments from ships in distant star systems, messages of support from alien allies, and reports of new discoveries that would reshape understanding of the universe itself. Marcus smiled as he looked out at the stars. Somewhere among those lights were civilizations waiting to be saved, species hoping for rescue, and possibilities that defied imagination. The greatest repair job in galactic history was just beginning, and humanity had the tools, the knowledge, and the determination to see it through. The universe had tried to end intelligence through harvest and extinction. Instead, it had awakened something far more powerful: the human refusal to accept that anything was truly broken beyond repair.